Welcome back to Algebra 2, Chapter 2, Section 2 in this book. But we are we're finally learning something new, and you can learn this concept even if you don't have this book, even if you're just looking through YouTube trying to find some help with piecewise functions. So for those of you who have been following along with this class and doing your homework every week and all that, this is the first thing we've got to that is new for Algebra 2. Woo! Do the new happy dance, because we're not just reviewing anymore. All right, but what are we going to start with? A little review. Remember in Algebra 1, we learned how to graph a line. And then we learned about systems of linear equations where we graph two lines on one piece of graph paper. Yay! And the solution was where those two lines meet. Remember that? Piecewise functions looks so fancy, doesn't it? And we are going to feel so smart knowing how to do this, but it's really not that hard. This is the basic idea, that instead of having two lines going everywhere across the piece of graph paper, that and on a certain part of the graph paper you do one line, and then on the other part of the graph paper you do the other line. So like it could be from the intersection here and up, we graph the purple line. From the intersection and back, we graph the red line. So these are two different lines, but they don't go all the way. They only go on the part of the graph paper they're assigned to. So, I know this looks crazy, but hang on, you can do it. So f of x, remember that's just fancy math talk for y, equals 2x minus 1 if x is less than or equal to 1. So what that means is that I have this equation, y equals 2x minus 1, but I'm only going to graph it on the part of the graph paper where x equals 1 or it's less than 1. So let's look at that here. So how you do it is you make your if-then chart. But the first point you try is not what we usually try, which is 0 because we're lazy. We try whatever point this is, and it's 1. So we say if x is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, minus 1, 2, yep, 2 times 1, yes. I just wrote the wrong thing here. Let's see, where's my purple? I gotta make it look right. Alright, so 1 times 2 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. So my first point is, if x is 1, y is 1. And I'll put a dot right there. And see how it's or equal to? I write a dot, not a donut. Okay? Now I do the next one. If x is 0, 0 times 2 is 0, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So if x is 0, y is negative 1, and I put a dot. I continue where x is less than or equal to 1, so I'm going to continue down here with my line. It's or equal to, so I draw just that solid line right there, looking like that. Now I do my other one. Remember, this is just fancy for y. Y equals 3x plus 1. So y equals 3x plus 1. I start with my point 1 and substitute it in. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So if x is 1, y is 4. But because this is just greater than and not or equal to, I go to 1, 4 and I put a donut, not a dot. Then I try another one, but it has to be bigger than 1. I can't try negative 1, I can't try 0. It's got to be a point that's bigger than 1, so I'm going to try 2. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So if x is 2, y is 7, I put another dot. This line goes that way, and there it is, a piecewise function. Just fancy for this line goes here, this line goes here on the same piece of graph paper. Let's do another one. Here's one right here. And hopefully I didn't mess up on my math when I was putting it up here. Alright, f of x equals this equation, 1/2 x plus 3/2 if x is less than or equal to 1. So we're going to do it right here. We start with x being equal to 1, And so that makes a half times 1 is a half. A half plus 3 halves is 4 halves. 4 halves is 2. So my first point, if x is 1, y is 2, and it's a donut, and it's right here. Now I do my next one, and I have to pick something less than 1, so I pick 0. If x is 0, then that all goes away, and y is 3 halves. So if x is 0, y is 3 halves, and I put a dot. And then it would continue on out that way. Whoop. So there goes my less line. Now let's do my more line. I start with 1 again. If x is 1, that's negative 1 plus 3 is 2. So if x is 1, y is 2, and this time the dot gets filled in because of that equals. Now I try another one, but I have to pick something bigger than 1. So negative 2 plus 3 is 1. I put a dot there, and it continues, and it would look like that. Okay, they love this one because this piecewise is also called stepwise. And when you have it like this, it looks like steps. So let's look at it. So y equals 1 if x goes from 0 to 1. So, and it's equal to 0, but a donut at 1. So here it is. If x is y is 1, so on y I go from 1, and then I make a line from 0 to 1, and it's a dot and a donut. Then I go to y is 2. X is 1, I go over to x is 1, and I draw a line to 2, this one's a dot, that one's a donut. Then 3, I go up to 3, go over to 2, put a dot to a donut, and then 4, I go to 3 to 4, dot to donut, and it looks like steps. If you look in your book at example 5, they're not always, the steps aren't always the same length. Sometimes you could have them where this step goes to here, and then the next one goes short again. So look at the examples, make sure they make sense, but it's really not hard. It looks so fancy. Here's another one. F of x equals 2x plus 2 if x is less than 0. And it's equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 0. So here's the x, and there's the x minus 2. And I didn't really bother with the if-then chart, but you should. I just did, okay, it started off at 2. It's a donut. The slope is 1, so I went over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, put my points, drew my line. And this one, the y-intercept is 0, see it doesn't have a plus anything, but the slope is 1 over 1 again, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, draw my line. Ta-da! Look over the word problems in your book. Make sure you understand them. They're not hard. They're just thinking of a way to do it. Your calculator will do this for you. There's a calculator lab. Be sure to watch it. It's a separate video. The calculator lab is called Graphing Piecewise Functions, and it's on page 121. All right, so come back next time and we're going to learn something new again. Absolute value functions. You know about absolute value. You know about absolute value functions. We're going to talk about what the graph looks like. All right? Math is great.